Hello, everybody. Welcome to Into the Score. It's me again, Avishai Darash, your host for this podcast. And this podcast is actually very special because I was not allowed to send questions beforehand. No.
Niet goed.
Nee, niet. Wait, Dave, just let me. And actually, I'm really happy to have someone very special here with me in the studio. Someone that I wanted to talk to for a while already. Dave Clarke, the legend.
Legend.
Legende.
Legend. We don't do legend, we do legend. Legend, yes.
Dave, take me from the beginning. Tell me your story.
Gosh, it's a long story. It keeps getting longer each year, actually. Started off growing up in England, where a coal power station used to deliver soot into the garden every summer. That was fun. Saying all of that, though, actually, growing up in Brighton, aside from family stuff, was generally a good thing, because I grew up in a very, very wide version of society that might not have been proliferating too much around the British Isles at that time. I mean, it was a tough time as well. There's a lot of recession, budget issues and stuff, but Brighton was very progressive, like from the very first public electricity being given free, to things like before L'Oreal, when Body Shop was coming through, things like organic foods like Infinity Foods, and of course actually a gay parade probably predating Amsterdam by about 3 or 4 years. So it was a very, very wide society that also had a large amount of musical input, more in the way of consumption than perhaps making. Obviously, you know, the north of England is really famous for amazing bands like Joy Division, but the Brighton music scene itself, well, we had the Piranhas. It's okay, it was fun for being a kid with the Piranhas. You had Reckless Eric, you had Peter and the Test Tube Babies, of course, Captain Sensible. But musically, nothing was really, at least that I was aware, was really being made down there. But from consumption, I just learned everything from there. And I'm deeply grateful for my coincidence of birth timing and place where I was. And there was a lot of sort of young clubs going on where you could go in there on a Tuesday, for example. And my first PA that I saw, I used the word live generously, but I think it was probably with a tape in the back, was Divine. And that was actually at a place called Coasters that was predominantly a gay disco, but during the week they'd open it up for teenagers. And the DJ at the time, Rory, would allow tapes of him to be recorded for me. I didn't know him. And they would allow me to sit in the light room, sound room, they did both. And I would sit there and I'd be listening to all these mixes, and everyone was really sweet to me. And it was
How old were you back then?
I think I was about 13.
Oh, wow. That's a youngie.
Yeah, we were supposed to be 16 when we got in. But we did things like, in those days, before digital stuff came in, you'd have a card-printed bus pass, for example, where you could actually handwrite in your date of birth. And it was a whole thing of like, can you remember how old you are? I said, yeah, I'll just subtract 5 years old, it's going to be fine. And you go, yeah, this is where I was born. And they knew it was shit, but it was okay. And it was a safe environment. I never felt anything bad there. The only thing bad that happened to me, we're going to digress for ages. I don't know how much
I love it, please.
SD card you have available to you, shooting
like
in
3 hours
marvelous
or something?
8K. But I mean, I remember going down there once, and this is why I don't wear white at all anymore, but I remember going down there once in white trousers with a white T-shirt and mirror sunglasses thinking I looked the shit, right? And I did look the shit, because what happened was the bus did an emergency stop and I skidded all the way down the aisle with my white trousers, and it made me look like something else had happened to my leg. So that's why I stopped wearing white trousers. But we'd go down there and we'd sort of try to make a scene out of it, of the music, and I learned so much from listening to this guy called Rory. He would play weird, I believe, Trevor Horn productions like Mainframe. He said it in with Gene Khan, Was It All That Was? And so all this great music was coming through. Of course, High Energy was around that time as well. We'd be listening to things like Shannon, Let the Music Play, Evelyn Thomas, High Energy, Marsha Raven, I Like Plastic. And it was a real mangrove, I suppose, of like my beginning mangrove of like really getting involved with music, because of course at school we were swapping electro mixtapes. I was into new wave. I just came off the back of punk. My first records that I bought in Brighton were The Damn Machine Gun Etiquette, Devo Freedom of Choice, and John Fox Metamatic. And to this day I find it really bizarre that a kid of however old I was, 9, 10, 8 maybe at some points, could actually be so lucky with buying those albums, as opposed to, I don't know, Disco Duck or something, you know. And it was just a great place to grow up. I used to skateboard a lot, and I had some cool friends that would be listening to punk. We did some naughty stuff. I mean, I use the word naughty, but you know, we blow stuff up and set fire to things and all the other things in the pre-digital age that is difficult to do now, thankfully. But we used to sit down in bedrooms and listen to albums by UK subs. And, you know, we'd have arguments about concave, convex decks and skateboards with high riser pads. Are they real or not? You know, if you can't take it in the knees, and now my knees are paying the price. It was a great place to grow up. If you weren't really being looked after by your parents, which sounds weird because now I think that doesn't really happen. But at that time there wasn't much concentration on me as a kid. And there was like...
was it because your parents were working constantly, or was it like...
my father was definitely working all the time, and my mother wasn't working at all, which, you know, it's not a put down, it's how the system was in those days.
Right.
But my mother, yeah, whatever, you know, like I just would go out and do my thing, and not much would really be cared about from maybe the age of 9, 10. And there was a weird thing that happened in that area. There was a railway network called Network Southeast, whereas if you had £1, you could get an away day to go anywhere in Network Southeast. And Network Southeast is kind of the same size as the Netherlands, I think.
Wow.
And it also included London and the Isle of Wight.
Wow.
And
so
Eastings and Hastings.
Around,
so, and the only reason I ever got caught was because a friend of mine that I saw 2 weeks ago for the first time in ages actually kept the train ticket in his pocket, and his mum phoned up my mum, and then we were grounded. But we got back safe, it was fine. But we'd explore everywhere, and of course that meant going to different record shops and smoking cigarettes unfiltered. And just
the unfiltered is important.
It is. It's why I've got gravitas in my voice to this day. But no, it's like smoking cigarettes unfiltered. We'd buy like a Woodbine or an Old Navy cut from an old guy in a newsagent that you could buy them singly for. And if you were nice enough, you can say, can I please have a Swan Vestas match as well? And then you had one strike of the match to light the cigarette. Otherwise, you'd have to ask a stranger for a light. And we'd just be walking around smoking old men's cigarettes, listening to the UK subs while skateboarding. I mean, that's Huckleberry Finn, isn't it?
Yeah, it sounds a little bit Tom Sawyer Huckleberry Finn.
Right? It's totally Huckleberry Finn, you know. I mean, I did grow up later on to smoke a pipe as well because I wanted to keep this going. But it was actually, considering nothing had happened to me that was really bad, actually quite lucky as well. And so, yeah, it was quite a punky growing up. I was too young to really be involved in punk, but I appreciated the music. And at that time, I also realized that the school curriculum, which we were talking about earlier off camera, was much more biased towards government agenda and prepping us for at least the Industrial Revolution. I mean, at my school, we had to sing It's a Long Way to Tipperary by doing star jumps. And then, I don't know if you guys ever watch TV, but sometimes in Hyde Park, they would have the cavalry and they would take a gun apart, run with it, and then put it back together after taking it through different thing. We had to do that with a fake gun, but it was bloody heavy, and then we'd fire off a firework at the end. That kind of thing. That was the first school I went to. The other school I went to, we had to be in the Army Cadets. It was pretty intense. So, you know, it is, and we were part of an Industrial Revolution education. And then punk came along, hip-hop came along, new wave came along, and luckily all the lyrics were in English, because punk is English, it's not American, but all the lyrics were in English, and you would understand them because you would play the record again and again because the lyrics weren't available. You could get them in certain magazines. You play them again, and you realize there's sometimes metaphorical references to how unjust or how stupid society is, or completely direct references to how unjust society is. And then you're realizing that when you're at school, you're being taught that the British brought justice to the world and cricket. And then you realize what a whole load of shite that really is compared to what was actually really happening. And that's when my disenfranchisement happened through society, and I sort of became more Sigma than anything else, of stepping outside of societal sort of requirements in a way. Obviously not murdering people, but at the same time not believing the political overclass in what they're saying.
But wait, we're going really quick. So
I think I'm going slow, but okay.
No, because it's like
well, I'm still 10 at the moment.
No, there's like a lot to unpack here, because it comes from you hanging out with your friends to become revolutionary and wanting to.
I wouldn't say revolutionary, but just aware.
Just aware. Okay,
Yeah.
so when did this happen? How did this happen? What was the transition? Was it through the music that you consumed, or
Yeah.
that kind of like?
It was through the music that I
awakened you?
consumed, definitely, because counterculture wasn't. The irony is counterculture is so easily available now, but everyone's so conservative, right?
Yeah.
But counterculture wasn't so easily available. It was more word of mouth, in the same way that moving into dance music, electro and techno, it was counterculture, and it was the weird kids, right? You wouldn't see all these normals at raves and festivals. It was just weird people kind of eyeing each other up, not sexually, I have to say in this day and age, but eyeing each other up like, who are you? What do you do? Why are you here? Are you interesting? Are you a threat to me? Are you against weird people? And you just form these bonds with people that would just sort of, you'd have a nod and a wink with each other, which changed later on because obviously Acid House came along, and I'll have to go back again, but Acid House came along and people would be going, Acid, and then you go, oh, you're one of those guys. Okay, you're one of those. Or bass, how low can you go, when they changed it with Simon Harris. Then you kind of knew that those people were sort of house guys. But when I was growing up, it was really like a nod and a wink. It was almost like a sane Masonic society where we actually understood that music is basically our redemption, because a lot of these very astute, mostly northern in English cases, people were actually really letting us know what was going on deep in society. And this was a time of Thatcherism, who we've now discovered that apparently she had 2 affairs when she was Prime Minister. Interesting, not really, but anyway, it shows that she wasn't quite the Iron Lady, as everyone says. But we were growing up through Thatcherism. We used to call her Maggie Milk Snatcher because they used to take all the milk bottles away from some schools. And of course, James Goldsmith was coming along at the same time whilst doing things like adverts for soft, chewy sweets for kids called Chewits, and at the same time acid stripping the whole country. And these things, you couldn't look it up on the internet, certainly weren't reading it in a majority of newspapers. You would just hear it through a lot of northern groups in England actually explaining the situation for us. And it just opened my eyes, and I realized music and politics should always go together.
Yeah, I think, like, first of all, what you were saying about this, like, centralized information that is basically coming into people's homes through the TV, through newspapers, that thing is completely collapsing. Legacy media is completely collapsing right now.
Is it?
It's completely collapsing.
Legacy media is completely collapsing, yes, but centralization through
algorithm,
which is made by,
but it creates individuation. Think of individuation of information.
That's how. Yeah, but that's how Brexit happened. by sending individuation adverts to people.
But did it happen through the young generation, through the older generation? That's what I mean. Because the older
no,
generation
but they did individuation on the way that they advertised it on social media.
Exactly.
But who is centralizing that?
The tech feudals, yeah.
So it's still centralized. It's just a different mythology.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's much more effective now because there's no kickback to it at all, right?
Yeah.
There's no kick because you can't say that advert that you printed in a static newspaper is wrong. We want you to apologize and we need you to pay some money for that because you did it wrong. These are now appearing on people's individual devices.
Yeah.
That there's no way of accessing it if that influenced them or not, and we know that it did.
So maybe I need to think about a different way to articulate it.
Because it's the centralization has changed from what we thought was democracy to now something which has no effect by voting.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Mostly by South Africans, apparently.
What do you mean?
Peter Thiel, Elon Musk.
This is what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, yeah, Palantir, yeah, exactly. That's what you're talking about.
This has escalated really quickly. I'm still 10 years old in my head.
Yeah.
But okay.
No, but I like it. I like it. Please, I'm enjoying this.
So then growing up furthermore, I left school pretty early, sadly, but also happily, but sadly as well, because I was supposed to do computer software engineering and artificial intelligence when I left school. And for whatever reason, it's still not clear to me why it didn't happen. I think possibly I didn't have enough academic sort of tick-offs on exams.
39 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Still, I don't know. I thought it maybe even longer, actually. Yeah.
Because artificial intelligence back then
they were talking about it all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously, I mean, we had Charles Babbage, we had all that stuff going on, and obviously artificial intelligence. I mean, we were working on BBC B computers, right, at school. In fact, my first music software was on a BBC B computer, but, you know, it sounds far-fetched that maybe we were talking about artificial intelligence then as a possible career thing to do. But the chipset is ARM, which is the same chipset that's in Apple computers, is from Acorn. So if you follow it, it's still there. But of course, the computer power was incredibly low and small, but it didn't stop people like Isaac Asimov writing things about it, hoping that it would go in Asimov's law. So it was going to go I was supposed to go in that kind of direction, but it didn't happen, which now, honestly, really happy about. I have no regrets about that at all. But basically, I left school and then was homeless for a little while.
Tell me more about that. Like, what were you homeless out of choice, or what is? I mean, it sounds like a very, inflammatory question.
Cliche question for a lot of people that don't understand homelessness, and it's not putting you down.
No, it's fine.
But I think homelessness.
What
isn't
okay, let me ask
always
this.
a choice.
What led to that? Let me ask you this.
That's personal.
Okay.
But homelessness isn't always a choice for people. Even if you're living in what's a warm place, you can't stand to live there anymore. Is that a choice? Yeah, but what's going to happen to your sanity by staying in that environment?
I think they understand where it's coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to dig too much into that.
And so I left home, and for a few nights I was sleeping on a beach at Hove Car Park. And in those days, car parks really smelt of urine, by the way. Like, really, I just don't know how that happened, because I can't imagine the whole population thinking, I'm just going to get out of my car and piss in the car park, because it's a weird thing, but it just smells so bad. Luckily, a friend of mine then put me up, and I stayed in his bedsit on a mattress on the floor, with a lot of condensation in the room, because the whole place wasn't very well sealed and stuff. But it was incredible, because I finally had some freedom for my mind. And, you know, it was tough, but it was also pretty good. And then I moved into a bedsit of my own eventually, and my father did agree to pay for half the money for the bedsit. which it's okay, but I had my freedom. And in those days, I had things like electricity meters where you have to put coins in to activate them. And because we were doing naughty things in the arcades, where if you had a fishing wire and you put it in the coin slot, you could rack up credits for the fruit machines.
Oh yeah,
right. But then I realized, well, maybe I can rack up credits in the electricity machine, and I did.
You did.
I managed to get free electricity, or so I thought, because then the landlord, who was actually a friend of my family, was saying to my family, it's like, it's really strange. I have no money to collect in the, in the little tin at the bottom of the electricity meter, yet he always has electricity. So that didn't last long. But the years in the bedsit were actually really free and really wonderful. It was wonderful watching snooker on a really, really old, because there's no 24-hour television in those days, right? And so you just watch what was on TV, and 3 channels, 4 channels, no, 3 channels then. And sometimes they had snooker late at night, and I'd watch snooker on a black and white TV. It was really good for actually trying to remember where the balls were, because obviously you don't know which one's the pink and the red, and you have to remember it. And
was it because you felt autonomous in that moment?
I just felt free as fuck.
Yeah.
It was like amazing. The jobs I was doing were horrible, and the amount of money I was getting were like, minimal wage. Every time you hear minimum wage now, I still hear like, oh, minimum wage has gone up, and I just thought, shit, I was on minimum wage for ages. That was not an easy time, but the freedom was really good, and it gave me the time and space to then start doing things like saving up money for drum machines and not eating, and buying drum machines, and then learning how to make music. And I have to say, I had a strange relationship with my father, and I think that's down to the family situation that many kids have. But he did occasionally get me some incredible pieces of equipment, which I think was his way of sort of saying like, okay, the education didn't go well for you. I'm going to try and help you to go further forward with where I think maybe you need to go. And it actually really did help in a big way. So yeah, and that's, I'm up to sort of 17 now. So
let's continue.
Yeah, I mean the next year.
So then you start saving up for drum machines.
Yeah.
You start saving up basically, and was it in the back of your mind that like, I want to make music, like I'm going to get my own place, I'm going to make music? Because
what happened actually, it started even earlier that, because I met some old school friends from my second school, because I only went to like 2 schools apart from like a preschool. And one of them said to me, but you're always so single-minded. You're always so single-minded on music all the time. Because in those days, it was the first time really that Walkmans had been invented, which was the perfect antidote to a fucked up outside world. You could then closet on headphones. Before, I was just listening on mono in like a little plastic earpiece to John Peel underneath the bed sheets, listening to radio. And then when you got the stereo, and there weren't any volume controls now, like, Apple go, you've been listening to music too loud, and it's like, you don't even know the ohmage of the speakers I'm listening to. Stop, In those days, you could listen to music really loud, and it was like amazing. I have some amazing feelings, like, my mother and father were arguing incessantly, and it was a great way of shutting it out and just being totally within music. And yeah, it really, really helped music in those days.
Yeah. Were you gravitating towards mentors in that sense that would teach you how to produce and how to create it? Was it like a lot of just trying out?
I mean, what happened was my chemistry teacher at my second school did lend me an audio mixer for summer with some phono cables. And I was then trying to do sort of mixtapes. In those days, it was the pause button on tapes that was your friend. Not the servo motor would always die in the end, but it was your friend for a while. And I was just learning everything that I could possibly do myself, because there was no, if ever you went to anyone, oh, I want to have a career in music, they were going like, yeah, but what do you really want to do? And now it's like, I want a career in music, but actually no one has a career in music. They have a career in PR. And the money's
so true.
And the money's so big, it's like no parent's ever going to go enjoy it, you know, because basically everything's about money. But I didn't think that way. But when I was working in the shoe shop, there was a really lovely window dresser who used to come in once a month, and we used to sit and chat and have talks. She's a really calm person. And what is it that you want to do, she said to me, you know. And she was only like maybe 4 or 5 years older than me. It's not like a great shoulder of wisdom had arrived with 30 years of experience above me in life, just asking me questions. And I would say, yeah, I want to travel the world and do music. And I did. But I didn't know if that was going to happen or not, because there wasn't a career in those days to be had unless you did weddings or birthdays, or in my case, roller discos. There wasn't really a career to be had. You were kind of like a sort of sad shuffling outsider that would be bringing all your equipment, end up with severe backache from setting it all up, and maybe make £10 profit at the end of the day. So it wasn't really a career choice, but I kept going. And the technology side of things was fascinating because my father was deeply into technology, had reel-to-reel. He had a record deck, he even had disco lights. You know, I had Dave's Disco up in the attic for the last year of me living, at least with my stepmom. And, you know, I learned a lot from that, but it was something within me, and photography also came from him. It was something that was within me from him. And then I was working in a shoe shop, and I'd be saving up some money to buy a drum machine. I didn't know why. I just knew that I had to try. And I'd be saving up for this Yamaha RX-21, and it was 110 or 120 pounds. Weirdly, at that time I was living with my mother after I was kicked out of my father's home. And there was a newsagent around the corner, and in the back room of the newsagent, there was a music shop. It was like bizarre. Selling only Yamaha stuff. If it was Roland, maybe everything would be different, but selling me Yamaha stuff. And I went there with like once every couple of weeks with £5 or £10. And he just let me have the first drum machine for like 60, 65 pounds, like to get me to go away, to fuck off, right? And then I went, what's that one? He goes, that's the Latin drum machine. And then I came in there and I did the same thing. And then he let me have that for the same sort of price, and then hoped he would never see me again. So I had these drum machines, and then I started to realize, even like with drum machines, people basically just use presets, because there was a track by Tila Rock called Breaking Bells that was produced by Mantronics. And the drum pattern was, I think, pattern 56 of the Latin drum machine. I was like, that's the same fucking pattern, he just used it. So then you start to decode what's going on around you. And then I just kept working on doing stuff, mostly DJing, but I just kept working on doing stuff like that.
So you were DJing, and at the same time you were producing?
In a roller disco.
In a roller disco, okay. And how did this actually help your development as a DJ? Was it just
because I got fired?
Because you got Tell me more about it, please. Because
I got fired. So
how long were you DJing?
I was doing it for maybe a year or so, and it was seasonal. It wasn't every week, I think. And it was literally at the bottom of my road, near the bedsit I was living at the King Alfred swimming pool, which was covered over, and they made it into like a squash court, but they used it as a roller disco on Sundays. And I got the gig, and I thought, this is great. I'm literally like 5 minutes away. How easy is this? I didn't work out that I needed to take all my equipment from there to there, so I used to hire a van. And I actually hired the van of the last DJ, but the last DJ lived in Worthing, and these people were from Worthing, so it kind of made sense. So they used to drive all the way in from Worthing to pick up my stuff, take 1 minute to drive down to the event, and then set it up, and I had to pay them pretty much my whole wage to make it happen, right?
It's not a good business.
It's not a good business model, no. And I was DJing down there, and then I would hire, if I had some extra money, I would hire things like 2,000 watt argon strobe lights and a smoke machine for a roller disco. And I was like playing acid house at 45 minus 8 when we were doing speed tests to get people to go really fast. And then there was another game called British Bulldog, which is when it's so colonial actually when I think about it. But it's when you have two opposing lines of people, and then you have to run across and then tackle someone, and then whoever's left at the end is the winner. But I kept playing British Bulldog until people were carried off in stretchers, and then people were going so fast skating that they would fall over. And I was like, what's wrong with people? And then my stage was about this high and the ground was here. And, it's just slightly like 2/3 of my height. I'd jump off there, I'd join in the speed skating, and then I'd come back up. People were being ferried off and it was all students, by the way, because they'd always have EF students coming in thinking, yeah, let's do this. And then it'd all be taken away. And I was thinking, this is fun. This is chaos. It's brilliant. And then I got more serious about playing the music. And then with the strobes and the argons, because people used to hit each other because they got flashed in the face by the strobe. And that also caused accidents. But I wanted to obviously be a club DJ, not a roller disco DJ.
So I'm just going to bring the club here.
Yeah, exactly. And I was doing that with two different turntables with rubber bands and no vari-speed and a realistic battery-powered mixer. And then I was playing acid house and people were starting to take their shoes off and dance. And then, I think after the second or third week, the organizer came up to me, David, this is really not working, which is something that's happened a lot in my life. This is really not working. Sorry, we have to let you go. And they let me go. But I was also then lucky enough to DJ in a club called Shades. And then that was fun. There is a photo of me around somewhere where I look, because you had to wear a suit in those days. You have to remember that DJing was not cool, right? There was nothing cool about being a DJ in the mid-'80s.
It's funny how it's like the ultimate PR thing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely like you have to be the coolest person in the world to do it right now. And
obviously
you had to wear a suit.
We had to wear a suit and we'd have to get on the microphone and remember, if you're going to have sex, wear a condom. And honestly, things like people will park their cars outside opposite the fire exit. It had to read out the number plate. Stuff like that. Someone's car alarm was going off. It wasn't a cool environment. People, if you said, what do? You're a DJ. It's like, okay. Anyway, who's that person over there? I talk to them instead. It wasn't a cool... I would sit in the lunchroom in the shoe shop, like on my headphones doing this, and they thought I had like something wrong with my leg, scratching it. I was so involved in it. It was a passion thing. I really, really wanted to do it, but it wasn't cool. Yeah. And I looked like Screech from Saved by the Bell.
Did you have any idols that you were like looking up to? Or where did it come from? This
the idols were hip hop. The idols were totally hip hop. Like I say, you didn't have the internet. You didn't really have that much access to magazines and stuff. But there was a program that happened on BBC Two that just broke me into waking up about DJing, because before it was always about punk, it was always about guitars. And then I saw Cool DJ Herc going around the Bronx with his white car with speakers hanging out the back. I thought, that's what I want to do. That is fucking cool. Watching people doing this and this and this, and it just completely like transformed what I wanted to do. So much so that I borrowed my friend for one night, the one that actually he was stupid enough to keep the ticket in his pocket about going to the Isle of Wight. And we went up in his mother's Ford Sierra, and I managed to plumb in my 8-inch speakers in the back, playing Public Enemy, and I got him to drive through Brixton, and he was shitting himself. But I was like, you need to play music to people. That's what they want. And I was like, playing Public Enemy #1 in Brixton, 2 white guys in a white Sierra at like 2:00 in the morning, and like people like looking at us like, what is wrong with you? But it felt right. And I really felt for the music. It felt so good to do this.
Yeah, of course.
My father was teaching me how to drive, and I was playing Public Enemy, and I had a Public Enemy T-shirt, hoodie on. And he's like, David, why have you got Public Enemy #1 in your back of you with a sign on there? I was like, let's listen to music really loud all the time. So I had to turn it into a profession, really. Otherwise, I wasn't going to make any friends. I was just basically always going to be kicked out from wherever I was doing. So it happened eventually, but it was still uncool. And I kept trying to break records in, but you'd have like a semi-playlist that you'd have to play of commercial stuff. But then I'd sneak in, I'd like mix in like Donna Summer. Everyone likes Donna Summer, I Feel Love. Whether you're credible or a normie, everyone loves it because it's a genius pop record that happened to cross over deservedly. But then I'd be mixing things like Acid House in there slowly. And then like when I got the manager looking at me, taking it back out again, then moving it back in, then taking it back out. And people danced. And then all of a sudden I was given my own autonomy in that environment where I could start to play the music that I liked. And then I did that at another club, and then I got fired because of what was happening with the newspapers going, Acid House is evil. And then that's when I started making music deeper because I didn't want to do these really commercial raves.
So, like, okay, let's get back to that thing. It goes up in the newspaper.
We've still got 37 years of life.
No
to
worries,
do.
man. We have time, man. We have time. So, it comes out in the newspaper that newspapers that Acid House is evil.
Yeah.
You lose your job at Shades, it was?
It was actually at Toppers. So I was at Toppers with I had John Digweed standing outside giving out flyers. He was known as DJ JD in those days. And he was just like giving out flyers to people because actually in those days I was actually doing pretty okay at that club playing relatively credible music. It was across the board. I started the night off with soul and hip hop. I mean, I DJ with the Jungle Brothers back in the day as well, but it was across the board. But the last half an hour was like more Acid House, and then it became the last hour, and then it basically became the whole night. And people were just loving it. And then all of a sudden it came out in the newspapers, it's evil. Because of Thatcherism and conservatism. There was a repetitive beats bill that was going on because obviously what was happening were people were taking it to raves, which is a good thing. But the government didn't like the uncontrollability of something like that. And of course, there was a lot of gangland involved in that stuff as well.
Right.
But they didn't like that, and they didn't like people basically having fun and freedom. And people were dying as well, which should never, ever be forgotten about. People were dying because of bad ecstasy, and it's a horrendous thing. If you got a daughter or a son that goes out there having a good night and they're not knowing what they're doing, they die because of something shitty. Of course, that's bad.
Absolutely.
And I don't know how a government is supposed to react to that in those days.
I can understand the knee-jerk panic reaction of just, okay, you know what, we have to just demonize it completely right now because we have to finish it. Especially when you have young kids dying from substances that they cannot actually regulate.
Exactly. I mean, I was even on Panorama, like a BBC TV program, like a few years later talking about this, and everyone was still freaking out about it, but no one was understanding what really was happening and how to do a really good sort of overview of it in a safe way for people.
Yeah. I remember that I was going through, even in my school days, that we would have these once a year meetings with either recovering addicts that would tell us just horror stories, just completely, like we would all come out like, oh my God, everything is bad, or someone that tells us that if you touch this, it's going to kill you. We still did it. That didn't change it.
I mean, don't forget, like, when I was growing up, I was like, I'm going to be particular here and very British, but I grew up at a time when my balls dropped, that all of a sudden there was HIV and AIDS everywhere and sex wasn't safe. We had adverts on TV of like people in tombstones, with the same voice that they'll be using for a nuclear Armageddon.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was really heavy, and there wasn't much information around. So you're thinking, great, my balls have dropped. Looks like it's dangerous to use them now. And then we might all die because basically Chernobyl fucking went off, and we had Russian aircraft going over all the time with their Bear aircraft. And there was still the Cold War going on. Yep. So people were fucking really compressed, generally. Like in the same way that's what's happened after COVID. People were really compressed and needed steam to blow off. Yeah. And then all of a sudden the government just squashed that as well.
Absolutely. And actually great music came out from that.
Yeah.
Amazing music came out of it because it's just this pressure that creates diamonds.
Yeah.
And there's a need, like you said, to compress and to have good art that is coming as like a counterculture to that thing.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being like let's just get into this panic mode and listen to it. So, okay, take me again. So you're being fired from this club, and then you say, I'm going deeper now.
I had no choice.
You had no choice. So
I had no choice.
Take me there. What is happening?
So, living in Brighton still.
By the way, I'm loving this conversation, just for you to know.
It's finished
awesome.
now.
Yeah, it's done. Thanks.
No. So I was still living it. I was living in Brighton this time and not Hove. So I was in Brighton near St James's Street, actually near a school I went to. Life was tough.
You're around 18, 19?
Yeah, around that.
Okay.
19, I think.
Yeah.
When that was starting to kick off. Life was tough. It was difficult financially. I would go into the old ship hotel and reappropriate some of the spare toilet rolls they would have in the hotel bathrooms, and that would save me some money by having toilet rolls from there. There used to be like a Primark on Western Road where they used to have these energy-saving light bulbs, these fluoro tubes, but in a sort of glass thing. And I was thinking, I can't do the electric trick anymore because they used to have these key cards now where you have to actually tap it and have to charge it up. So I had to then think about how can I save electricity so I can have my machines on. And so I would sort of go past, and it was outside, and I'd be on my roller skates, and I was taller. I could reach the light bulbs and take them and then put them in, hopefully save some money with those light bulbs, not have heat on. And struggle with eating with my partner at the time. It was tough. But, in the same way that I also teach, because I teach at the Harlan Conservatorium now, I tell the kids that in many ways you don't really need to eat that much. You don't have any financial worries in as much as that you don't have kids to look after. You don't have mortgages, maybe credit card bills if you're silly, which in the Netherlands, you never know how you're supposed to spend your money. You go into a shop, it's like, no cash, we can only do this, and blah, blah, blah. So, but they don't have credit cards basically in the Netherlands, and so you can just go ahead and live your life quite meagerly,
right,
to fund your passion. And that's kind of what I was doing, but without choice. And then I was also doing journalism at the time, where I was writing reviews for Mixed Mag Update. I was also doing interviews for Generator magazine. I was also writing little bits for ID magazine, and occasionally other magazines at the time. And I used that for a couple of reasons. Firstly, I used writing reviews, and we used to get paid £1 a word, by the way. Can you imagine that, right? So I used to write reviews.
5,000 word review.
No, we're still quite short reviews. But I used to write reviews for many reasons, but also enable me to get on white label lists so that I could get the vinyl sent to me, which as a DJ, because I still was hoping to DJ, was really important. And then I'd be interviewing people like Thomas Barnett, Felix the House Cat. I did a remix for Felix, but I was also fascinated by how these people were making music. So I'd ask them, how are you making music? Because there weren't any...
Can I ask you just, how did you get into that, like journalism and all that stuff? Was it just...
I just asked.
You just asked?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I just asked, I think. Yeah, it's a good question.
Because sometimes it's like, it's such a... Because it sounds like such a pivotal moment. Like things start to turn there. Like you're getting music sent to you, you're interviewing big names, you're coming in contact with the industry, but like, how did you get into that? If someone is listening to it, it's like...
I think I just asked. I can't exactly remember. I had a few editors at the time. One of them who I still speak to, Nick Gordon-Brown, he was definitely one of my favorite editors to work with because he was very supportive. There was another guy who sadly passed away in the Amazon. Dom Phillips was killed because he was like a real journalist doing real work. And he went out there and he was really upsetting the wrong people, I think. I don't know what the whole case is, but sadly he passed away about 4 or 5 years ago now, I think. He was an editor of mine. He was very brutal, but in a good way. And I remember having sort of arguments with my editors. It's like, we've got to review this record. And it's like, not sure. And I was the first person to review Aphex Twin. And I really pushed it through.
Damn.
I got sent the white label of Analog Bubble Bath, and it fucking blew me away. And I was like, we have to make this like single of the week. I had to argue. And I think I got it in at least as a review. And that's kind of how passionate I was about the music. And so I was pushing for that to go through. And then I'll be winding up some people as well. I've always been political in that way where, so I'll be sent a record and it'll be going, this is underground techno. And I'll be reviewing it. The only way that this is underground techno is if you go out into the garden, get yourself a shovel and bury it, and then it's finally underground. And it wouldn't create a large amount of friends for me doing stuff like that, but hey, I'm still here, I suppose. And I was doing that, and then I was interviewing people like Thomas Barnett and Felix to understand their career path and also understand how they use machines in a very rudimentary way, at least, because we were all making up as we went along, right? There wasn't a sample pack that you can go and buy and sound like everyone else. There wasn't an AI tool to go, make me sound like this person.
Oh my God, we're going to get to that.
Yeah. We had to discover it ourselves, often through mistakes, which takes me back to my hip-hop learning days when I found out about DJ Jazzy Jeff in Union Park in 1985. And he's like, and Will Smith, when there was some sort of credibility around him at that time, where he didn't have Rent-A-Crowd.
Keep his mouth, keep his name or whatever out of your mouth. Or whatever he said,
but he was like,
whatever it was. Yeah.
He was bigging up Jazzy Jeff as he should, because he's a fucking incredible DJ.
Absolutely.
And he was going, yeah, DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Transformer Scratch. And I was like, what the fuck is the Transformer Scratch? And then I heard that it's when you switch it on and off again. So I was using the power button and I blew up my mixer. I didn't realize it was the on-off switch of the line. So there
like the fader.
Yeah, there wasn't that information. So it was painful. But we had to keep learning in a very pre-information age. So I was speaking to Felix and Thomas
You can laugh, India, if you want, like loud.
So I was speaking to Thomas and Felix and other artists and doing interviews with them to find out how they're doing their stuff. And that was really, really interesting. And of course, it was really important for me to get artists like that in the press, because at the time, I was reading very important magazines like Sound on Sound, which is still with us, to their testimony, which is brilliant. But they were never talking about techno. They were never really talking about house music. They were only talking about the commercial stuff. But the reviews were really interesting of the machines. I remember being in Brighton Marina reading about the Quadraverb, thinking I must have this, and that's what the reverb that I used on Red 2. But they were never giving any credit or understanding to what was happening in the nascent techno house electro scene. No one was really talking about it there. So I decided that I need to talk to these artists at that time.
You wanted to pioneer it, basically.
I wanted to get it out there and show what's really happening, because it was always really interesting. Especially like a lot of early Carl Craig productions used to blow my mind, because the levels would be all over the place, but it was designed like that. So all of a sudden it'll be, and then boom, and you have this distorted bass. And it was like fucking genius stuff. And it was like such a weird way of working. Everyone worked in their weird way, which is why, early techno records have their own sound. You listen to an early Ian Pooley remix, it's like, whoa, why? How did you come up with that?
Because it wasn't institutionalized, yes.
Exactly.
It wasn't like compressed into dogma.
Yeah. See, it doesn't always, compression doesn't always make diamonds. I'm just saying, unless you're using Hardney, then it's always going to make a diamond. But compression doesn't always make diamonds. And in this case, like everyone was
pressure. I meant pressure.
Same thing.
Pressure.
Pressure is the same thing.
Yeah.
And in those days, everyone was doing their own shit, and we were just inventing how to make samplers work for us. How I was never really into drum machines, apart from the first drum machines that I got, but how drum machines work for us, how compressors work for us. I remember talking to Thomas from Daft Punk in the Rex Club, So Dev, what is this compression that you are using? Where do you get this pumpy sound from? And I told him the LSE 3630, and the motherfuckers made billions out of it. And it's really cool that they did. But this is how information was being passed around. You had to earn it. You had to earn the trust from people. You had to talk with them, listen, understand, imagine how they make their music. And it was a really intelligent time to be making music.
It makes me think a lot about the time, actually, because I'm coming from jazz music.
Great.
Exactly, great.
Nice. Nice.
It just makes me think of actually what happened to jazz. No, what happened to jazz just before it became institutionalized. It was like this community that everybody just bounces off each other, and it's not that there's like an authority that says this is jazz, this is the way to do it.
But
I'm talking about 60s and I'm talking about 50s and 60s.
Sometimes gatekeeping can be a good thing if it keeps out the institutions.
We are saying the same.
Okay.
We're saying exactly the same. And then all of a sudden you had this like universities coming, conservatories and this, and then, okay, we have to make it as a business model. So we aggregate the thing and we tell you, this is what music is.
Yeah.
Okay. And basically what you're saying right now, it's pre-Electronic Music Academy, all these things. Because this is just human nature. When we have to kind of like make a business model out of it, we have to institutionalize it, because then...
And the awards ceremonies now.
This is absurd.
It's absurd.
It's absurd.
I was just watching the morning show before I came here because I was going to have a relaxing Sunday and you guys sport it for me. And I was watching that and it's like, she was about to be presented with an award and then the guy says, yeah, we bought this award for you. And I'm just thinking, it kind of happened everywhere, didn't it? Allegedly, you're supposed to add allegedly after inflammatory statements. Of course, there are good award ceremonies out there somewhere, but I'm yet to find them. Yeah. Because everything's a business model now. If you can extrapolate money from it and baggage yourself into the package, then it spoils it in the same way that DJ managers actually really sport the scene. I can understand that it's important because the scene also became very, very institutionalized, very, very corporate. No. And if you don't have someone representing you, then you're really going to, have things done to you that are not fair. I understand that it's a very complicated balance, but DJ management has definitely fucked up the scene as well.
In which way? Because
it enables the narcissistic ego to really flourish, because as we've seen with Trump and other politicians now, a lack of intelligence doesn't stop you from getting there. But if you have a narcissistic personality, the rewards are endless.
Yeah.
And if you allow the narcissistic personality to come out and then you benefit from your 20, 30% and you sit in a room and no one knows you, then isn't that a perfect situation for getting money? But it's not a perfect situation for the scene, if there is a scene anymore.
I want to hear more about it. Because it's like, we call it like, you've been through the trenches, you've seen a lot.
Well, the thing is, like,
you've seen also from the beginning of it, like when it was Wild Wild West to what it is right now.
So the thing is, like with DJing, it was never a job opportunity, right? You want a job opportunity, you go for a job. It wasn't a job opportunity. It was a passion project. It wasn't a career path. It was burning all your bridges because you didn't know anything else, because you were passionate about it. And it was something that drove within you a guttural force.
Absolutely. I think with music in general.
Yeah, it's a guttural force that there's no explanation except you need to do it. Right? Yep. And now it's a career path. You can earn millions from it, and therefore it's seen as legitimate now because of that. And a lot of these sets are pre-recorded. because of the pressures. Apparently, I don't understand the pressures that's going on. You need the pyrotechnics to go off at a certain time. You need this to happen. You need that to happen. You need the artist to appear godlike, appearing from the fucking ceiling, having visuals and everyone filming the visuals and no one giving a shit about the music. It's gone into that realm now, which it will never recover. It just will never recover. It's impossible. Because what's happening now with the scene, and I use the word scene really generously, but what's happening with the word scene now, the scene is just really, it's a spectacle. All it is, this music thing that's happening with these massive fucking clubs, right? It's just harvesting normal people's money.
Yep.
It's just harvesting their money. Like, you want to be stupid enough to pay that amount of money to go in so you can hold your phone up from a slightly different angle than the person in front of you, from a slightly different angle from the person left and right, from a slightly different angle from the person behind you. That's your fucking experience? Then they just take people's money, because it's just normal people in clubs have no clue about the culture, don't care about the culture.
There's something that I thought about. I wonder if you agree with that. Is that it's kind of like it metamorphed itself into this bizarre, grotesque version of the church.
I think it's gone into politics.
No, what I mean with that is, like, there's this, like, people are coming for this, like, experience. You have someone standing, lecturing you, but it doesn't matter anymore. It's just giving that thing
but they're not even taking it in.
A lot of substances, a lot of, like, you know, just to release something. And then it kind of like moved from the churches when people would congregate with each other, come together, and then all of a sudden became this. Actually, to go to festivals, there are, like, I just know in the Netherlands there are about 1,300 festivals a year. So it's like, it's just like this machine that runs constantly.
I don't see it as a church. I just see it as unadulterated capitalism. Just capitalism. I don't see it as a church, because I'm an atheist, as the joke goes, thank God, but I'm an atheist. I don't believe in any religion. I respect other people's religion, but I don't believe in it myself. But I do know that some people that go to church try to be good people from it. They try.
What I meant with that is not necessarily the spiritual aspect of it. I meant more the congregation coming together. There was, like...
I see it as a political rally. I see the rise of the far right and the rise of this kind of vibe that's going on, where education and passion and culture are pushed away and it's all about spectacle. I see the two as actually quite linked. Maybe that's a tough thing to think about.
No, I'm
but I see it as quite linked. I don't necessarily see that the BPM's going higher and the far right being linked, because you end up in that whole Chabba argument, which proved itself mostly to be wrong, in the same way that a lot of skinheads that I was around as a kid were not racist. But they were called racist because they looked racist and they were wearing big boots. I don't think that hard techno itself is causing the rise in the far right, but I do believe that the far right are enjoying those kind of events much, much more.
What about the extreme left?
Yeah.
The horseshoe thing. What about that?
Yeah, well, when I see the extreme left and I see the extreme right, I just think of Nazi yogaism in the 1930s, of how the far left and how the far right eventually come together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I am extremely sad how we've lost the ability to debate and engage in difficult conversations and learn from a different perspective and still disagree and be respectful. Yeah. I think that's a sad thing that we've lost as well.
I think a lot of it happened after COVID, in the break of COVID, when people were just locked in their houses, in their phone, getting radicalized. I mean, there was this thing that is happening right
Is my
now.
phone okay over there, by the way?
I don't feel comfortable. Let me scroll.
Oh, my phone, my leg's vibrating. Oh shit, no, it's just no, sorry.
Exactly. It's an erotic moment. Cold sweat, you know. Just
But I think you're right. I think the phone got radicalized.
yeah, but there is like, for instance, this concept that is called right now fifth generation warfare. That is basically
5G. It's evil.
well, no. What I mean with that is that people are getting radicalized through their algorithm. They're getting radicalized, and there is no more like these terror cells that are recruiting people to do the things that they're doing.
Exactly, it's automated.
It's automated, and it's like that's why you see more of these attacks happening from lone gunners, or it's not really connected to something. It's connected, let's say, to a certain movement, but it's not something that you can link directly to a group in that sense.
Yeah. Well, you can.
Well, you can.
The tech bros.
True. In that sense, yeah. Because we live in digital autocracy
Yeah.
in this moment right now. It's like you're completely surveillanced.
Yeah.
You're available willingly also. That's funny, like when you read 1984 and you think like, oh, we're going to be in this big brother that we're being like surveillanced all the time. No, we gave the cameras. Willingly, we gave the cameras. Willingly, we gave...
No, we didn't willingly. We accepted them slowly, and they came in subtly. You know, if all of a sudden we went from an analog age to a full-on digital age, people go, fuck that shit. They would just fuck that shit. They wouldn't want it at all. I mean, you know, you have to understand why cameras proliferated so much. So cameras apparently proliferated so much within London because bank robberies were going fucking crazy, right? So they had to stop bank robberies, and they had more cameras, and then they realized that cameras actually control people in an okay way in that situation. Phones eventually had cameras. Everyone's doing selfies. And then everyone was stupid enough to say, you know, what's your porn name? Name me your first dog and your mother's maiden name, so you can then get people's passwords. People just did that.
But that was data mining. People were doing that constantly, like the 10-year challenge and all this. I was like, why are you doing this? This is data mining.
I know. And so they do all that, and then it gets worse, and then people then go, oh, look at Lee, I look really old now. Look at my favorite filter. It's amazing, right? You just data mined your face.
Yeah.
Willingly. So it's been slow and accidental sometimes, and absolutely on purpose other times, designed to go in this direction.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like pushing the envelope just a little bit every day.
Every single time.
Every single, just a little bit. And then all of a sudden you're like, hey, whoa, look, the border is there all of a sudden. It was here, and all of a sudden it's complete. I can't even see it anymore. And by that time I was willingly.
And everything's part of what you need. So you need to really function within the Netherlands.
Yeah.
You really need to actually have a phone, right?
Yeah.
For a variety of different reasons. Firstly, because so many fucking places over here did not want to take cash, right?
No.
Secondly, the Digi-ID. Without Digi-ID, you don't really exist over here, so you kind of need a phone for that. There's so many reasons why you need a phone, and then a phone comes with loads of other things attached to it that you also need these kind of things. And then it's in your pocket all the time. It's your friend, you know. You get all these free texts, so you can send text to people. And because you're not paying for it, then it's data. And it's interesting because I was actually talking to, I can't remember who, talking to someone about religion. And they were saying that in the old days, they would get people to confess in the confessional church, right? And that was the intel area where, you know, excuse me, Father, for I have sinned. I've murdered 72 people yesterday. And then, you know, we've got this guy in here, or woman, who's apparently killed 72 straight off, you know. And now, you know, they don't intercept letters anymore. Well, maybe they do. And now it's just all the time with your phone. All the time. Willingly. Because
they do want to create now systems, AI systems, that will prevent possible crimes.
Minority Report. Minority Report.
Exactly. Minority. Exactly this.
What's
exactly
happened
what
to science fiction writing,
so
by the way?
Instead of having like the precogs, It's just going to be an AI system
Yeah.
that is going to kind of like see exactly your
body language, everything.
body language,
Yeah.
like your behavior online.
If your nose is cold.
Everything, like, and then know, okay, he's going to actually commit now a crime, catch him, but hey, is he actually guilty? He didn't commit it, but he was intending to commit it.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but, science fiction writing, well, not even science fiction, like George Orwell when he was on the Isle of Jura writing this. Great place for whiskey, by the way. The Isle of Jura writing this. Like, computerization, yeah, kind of, but not really, But they could see it. And then you have lots of other writers that saw what was going to happen, predicted it. And where is science fiction now? There isn't really any science fiction that's happening that's talking about a future anymore, really. Because we've already reached there. Like with the Black Mirror, for example, brilliant series, dark as fuck. Charlie, genius. First couple of series, we were still edging towards there. I can't be bothered to watch it now because we've already gone past it. We're way past it now. Gordon Moore's law of processors doubling in power every 18 months, gone, completely gone. AI is already learned how to lie to keep itself switched on.
Yeah.
So where exactly are we? I mean, some people that developed AI say we're actually at the edge of a really, really dark precipice that we won't recover from.
So where do you think this is all going?
That is an interview for another time, because I don't have very much positivity to say about that at all.
Where is the DJ scene going?
That's for another time, because I don't really have very much positivity for that at all. That's an interesting question. Where's the DJ scene going now? It's like the whole scene, there is so much cosplay going on, a ridiculous amount of cosplay, from organizations pretending they have nothing to do with KRK and focusing their PR on fluffy vegan burgers that they're selling because they're so nice and so cool as an organization. There's so much word salad PR shit going down, you'll never get to the bottom of it. The music scene, there's so much cosplay going on there because now everyone's dressing up as a really badly scripted Marvel Disney character. So everyone is franchising themselves. They're franchising themselves for the AI takeover, right? Because what's going to happen is, like, if you have massive venture capitalists owned, consolidated organizations, which basically there's a duopoly, right? Money, profit is always a thing, right? I think we can be pretty much assured that the day that Colonel fucking Sanders, KFC, DJ'd, I think at Ultra, we were on a shit slope to nothing, right? And we're here now, and now it's all about profit. It's all about profit. And where is the next profitable area to go for? Well, if you get rid of the skill set, and I use that generously now, of DJing, if you get rid of the skill set, you don't have to pay for the artist to be on stage to give them their 200, 300, 400, 1 million euros fee. You can save 5, 10 million euros not having that, because part of your massive corporation that also buys buildings in Copenhagen, buys buildings in London, also has its fingers within AI. Hey, we've got a buddy over here as part of our group. They're developing AI. So I think they're going to start licensing at least some of the artists into AI so that they can appear on holograms and their set lists then become part of what's going on, because the people don't care what's in front of them. And the skill set isn't there majoritively. There's not people really mixing real live stuff at that level anymore. Of course there is in other scenes, but at that level, of the corporate level, it doesn't matter, because people will put their screens up. look what's happened. We've got an AI person that'll do anything. And you can then have that AI DJ play in 5, 10, 20, 300 different places at the same time.
Yeah, multiplication. Yeah, exactly. And is it true actually that with the Pioneer CD DJ thing, you have an AI system that organizes the whole set for you already, puts it like in right tempos, and you just have the set?
Not that I'm aware, but I'm not going to say no.
Because I heard it from a friend of mine, DJ, and was just like, what?
All I know is it's...
So what are you doing?
All I know is it's clever and also dumb as fuck, because it's also got Wi-Fi, but you still have to update on a USB key. So I don't know. If it can pick up Wi-Fi, why can it download the update on Wi-Fi? So I'm not sure if it's that advanced, but I definitely can predict that in 5 years' time, AI will replace a lot of the DJs that are at that end of the market, that are put on a show, wearing the clothes they wear, presenting the way they present, always semi-excited for no reason because they're not mixing. Just put a fucking hologram up, because people are still going to film it. Because no one's going to go, wow, that mix was really intelligent. That I love that track A and track B. Yeah, I bought track A. No one cares, because it's normals in the audience. There's no culture in that audience at all. Like none. It's none.
So which kind of culture is there in the audience?
Well, there's still culture. I mean, I think gay culture still exists, and they still fight hard for it. I was speaking to Jen Cardini the other night, and it was a really interesting conversation. I got her coming on. I got them, sorry, I should say, coming on a panel about the state of the live industry at ADE. And, you know, I think the gay community are still really fortified in many areas and very strong at doing that. Certain techno arenas are still very strong. There's still some very, very passionate promoters out there. There's still some independent clubs out there. I've said many, many times over decades that clubs are the mangroves of our scene. Destroy them at your will, but then you won't have anything coming up. And I think there's a lot of clubs still fighting for doing what they need to do. And yeah, I think that will kind of be okay, but I think it's going to be tough for them, because what I've seen with the younger generation is that if they come up through those clubs, a lot of them will disappear because they'd still want the money and they won't support the other clubs.
Yeah, because that's the thing, when there is a financial incentive and you're being pushed into the brink of bankruptcy, you're going to have to get with the times and what it is, you know, and then either you become a relic or you go with Big Brother in that sense.
There's still a lot of amazing music. It's just tougher to find now, because finding that compressed diamond is very difficult, because there's so much sample pack AI music out there now.
I have to say that, like, as a composer, when I saw these chord packs that you can buy, I was shocked by this. That you can just drag and put like chords into your like MIDI stuff. I was like, why can't you just go and study?
that's been around. That's been around for quite some time. I mean,
but why don't you, as a producer, go and study music theory so you can understand what happens in the chord?
Because music theory also destroys you as an artist.
I disagree here.
That's fine.
I really disagree on this,
because I think sometimes it's good to be a maverick out there and do stuff and learn from that without knowing everything about it. Did Prokofiev study music theory? Did Janacek study music theory? We don't know.
If Prokofiev studied music theory, the way that he wrote, he had to know music theory.
Or did he discover it with himself?
He had like conventional studies for sure. Because to write in that way, especially for strings, it's not a way that you can just. It's not like just.
Because I'm sure some people just did their shit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can tell you Debussy, for instance, he studied in the conservatory in Paris, but they really hated what he was doing. So, but at the same time, he had such an influence of what happened later on. The same goes for Satie, for instance. Satie didn't like the fact that being the godfather of
I thought you were going to say he didn't like Tiesto's version.
No, that's for sure. But he was actually, it's funny because he had like this formal education and he wanted to he was a very bizarre.
Actually, no, I was
character.
thinking of Barber, not Satie. I was thinking of Barber, because Tiesto did a version of Barber. Sorry.
This one. Okay, the Barber strings, the Adagio for strings.
Opus number 11.
This is how you write for Barber, like how he wrote it. This is classical writing. Yeah. This is just like proper classical writing. You know, the thing is with theory, what I really agree with that is not that you don't lose innocence. There's like a spectrum. Like it's like you don't know anything, then you think you know everything, and then you realize you don't know anything. But it gives you tools to choose from.
Actually, I have to go back to when I was. this is how my mind works. I'm sorry about this. I had to go back to when I was like 15.
Okay, sure.
I did actually went to Sussex University for a 10-day course on electronic music production.
Oh, that's a pretty important thing, actually.
And exactly, because because you're talking about mentors and stuff, and the guy that was teaching me also produced Morikanti, and at that time it was all Yamaha equipment, and I learned a lot from there, and it inspired me. Yeah. So I'm not saying that all school is bad, because it's not, but I also had the privilege of working with Mathilde Marcel on a classical album that's yet to be released, and she did everything the traditional way. That she went to the Sorbonne, she went to the Royal College of Music, and I did everything the non-traditional way, and then we worked together in the studio and we learned off each other.
But this is these are alliances that are very important. Yeah. I find this very important because, again, we in one of the podcasts that we're talking about, like this problematic aspect of dogma, I think, and again, I go back to music theory, I think it's really important to know why a chord sounds the way it sounds and how you put certain things, because it's connected to frequencies, first of all. It's connected
mathematics.
To actually...
It's Pythagoras mathematics.
Exactly. Yeah. It's mathematics in the sense of how sound is being projected in a space, how to do that. It doesn't mean at all, and I will say it to anyone listening to
440 or 432?
Me, 440, actually. But actually, I like 442, to be honest. But the thing is that when you go to a conservatory, to an institution, the problem that happens there is that teachers start to tell you what is good and what isn't good. This is, I can't explain it. I don't have a word to express how faulty that is, because...
So comparison is not good?
What?
Comparison is not good.
In which...
When you say this is good, that's not good.
No, no, it's not even comparison. It's to tell you what is music and what isn't music. You can't do that. I think that institutions should give you the tools to choose from. That's it. There shouldn't be anyone telling you, oh, this is music, this is not music. And that happens quite a lot in conservatories. That happens quite a lot. And kids, young musicians get very discouraged and disheartened by this, because they have a vision, but they don't have the tools to express that vision. Give them the tools to express the vision. Don't tell them what the vision is.
No, you should never tell anyone what a vision is, ever.
Exactly, but give them the tools to be able to express the vision.
Because I teach kids at the conservatorium in Haarlem.
Yeah.
And
Do you live here in the Netherlands?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
20 jaar. We could have done the whole thing in Dutch, but I didn't want to tell you. No, I'm joking. We couldn't. So I teach the kids here, and the irony is that I would never have got into the conservatorium because I don't have enough educational merit to be a student, but I can teach. I love that irony. It's funny. Because
you have so much experience and you did.
I know, but it's kind of funny because I always had a chip on my shoulder about it. But anyway,
it's nonsense, Dave.
The kids there, like I had like some kids that just inspired the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Because the way they worked with each other, the way that they supported each other, wonderful. And it gave me so much more faith in what's coming through. Yeah. But I also teach music and politics, and I'm not going down the Karl Marx route. I'm not talking about Solidarnosc or anything like that, but I'm talking about how music and politics can be a good thing, can be a unifying thing, from relatively simple, starting up your own co-op, creating your own scene, inviting people, supporting your own talent around you, to doing political messages. And I always cite the specials with Free Nelson Mandela, because for a lot of kids, excuse me for 1 second, for a lot of kids, they, at my age group, as I said before, politics were taught to us at school. We didn't know that Nelson Mandela was who he was. We kept hearing from Margaret Thatcher he was a terrorist.
Wow.
Yeah. The Conservative government treats him as a terrorist. Oh. And this group from Coventry, to a kid growing up in the South, made me realise, it's not true. And, there's so much politically going on that I think music and politics, if it's obviously nice politics, because, the far right thing I was mentioning earlier on is not, but if it's good politics that's about diversity, it's about freedom, it's about living in a freer society, about representing people that are oppressed, if they can feel free to put that in their music and not feel chastised about it, then that's a good thing. But so many of the kids now are so scared of being instantly cancelled.
Yeah. Cancel culture is very brutal. Yeah, absolutely.
It's basically Emperor Nero, isn't it? It's like you live or you die and there's no in between.
Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah. Dave, I love this conversation.
We're done.
I mean, you want to talk more?
I'm still 19.
Okay, let's continue then.
No, but anyway, so I was lucky with the music scene. I sort of grew up with it, and then I had music coming out in XL and R&S, and that kick-started me. I came over here in I'm going to be really fast now.
No. Listen. I don't want to, because it was such a beautiful way it was such a beautiful cadence. No. But if you want to continue, I'm here, man. I love this conversation, so don't worry.
My first gig that I did here was at Richter's in Regulier Dwarsstraat in 1990.
Regulier Dwarsstraat. It's funny. I like it. It's like, no, but it's funny because it's like I'm not Dutch myself, but when I came here, I was like trying to tell people like, hey, where's Leidesplein? Oh, Leidseplein. Oh, it's like.
It took me ages to pronounce Spooey, Spow.
Oh yeah, Spooey.
It's like I'm off to the Spooey, to the American bookshop. There's always Spooey for me for ages, but and also the Dutch tend to put like 15 words together that have no hope of ever fitting on a Scrabble board, ever, right? And they don't even use nice...
It's a Germanic thing,
yeah. Like, let's put Regulier Dwarsstraat together in one fucking word. Okay, anyway, so I played at Richter's, and that was my first gig here. Didn't go well. And then I...
How old were you, 20?
Yeah, roughly, probably, no, a little... It was in 1990, actually. So definitely wasn't 20 in 1990. And of my advancing years, I can actually claim that I can't do maths now, so you have to work it out. So in 1990, I came over, didn't work, and then 95, I was invited by BMG to come over to play at the Melkweg to support my album release on Deconstruction, which was then part of the old BMG. And I stayed at the American Hotel. That night didn't work out at all either. But eventually I started coming back here, and then roughly like around, because I was DJing in Brighton, then I started DJing in London a little bit, and then I DJed in Scotland in 94, and then Ireland, and then it all started happening for me in 94. And I have to say that for my generation, the years that I've had DJing have actually been fucking incredible. Really honest years.
Were you incorporating also your own productions?
Yeah, so in the early days, I'd be playing the old productions on a Walkman cassette with a mini jack coming out into two phonos. And I'd desperately trying to get it on the beat and then release it on the beat and then come in immediately like a hard transition. And I was playing like the first releases that I did of R&S on, XL and R&S, and even ACV. On cassette into my sets, and then eventually I was important enough to get a thing called a test press, and then I'll keep that in the fridge until I used it, the acetate as well, and I play those, and that was an amazing feeling. I did my first live event, I think, at 95, 96 in Luton Hofer Tribal Gathering. That was also an amazing event. So I feel really lucky the years that I lived through, because almost every single week for 20 plus years was incredible. Every single gig almost was incredible. Of course you have some bad gigs, and then I didn't realise, but I was taking it for granted. And then things changed when COVID came around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this decade in general, since 2020, the world is in a turmoil. It's like something that is unrecognizable. I mean, we have an age difference between us, of course, but it's something that we all feel. I was just talking about with my wife this morning. It's like, wow, this is like, since 2020, the world is like in this bizarre identity crisis of not understanding what is right or wrong, what is real, not real. No one knows anymore.
Social media.
Absolutely.
Social media is the cause of all of that, without a doubt. And books now are digitized, which means that they can be edited and no one has a record of really what the original book was.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of...
That is 1984, huh? That's really 1984. Wow.
There's a lot of danger ahead, but I think the music scene itself changed roughly around minimal, when all of a sudden the music was really incessantly boring, and marketing
before COVID, you mean?
Yeah. And marketing all of a sudden became supremely important to market such boring music.
Because you said in the beginning of the podcast, like, there was no music career now, there's a PR career.
Yeah,
basically.
And that's the transition really happened around then, when all of a sudden Ibiza seemed to be the place to go and to invade, whereas before it was a place of house music, which actually I generally enjoyed. But with minimal, it was like a sort of secret way of invading Ibiza and capitalizing on that. And then the minimal sort of died off, but the marketing stayed. And there's one architect for this, who I'm not going to name. Everyone knows who I think it is. But I kind of see them as to blame for this, with their management, in making marketing a thing. Whether they would have done it or not, I don't know if it would change too much, because if you look at all art now is basically made on marketing. If you look at all fashion, I mean, fashion's always been about marketing, but it's a lot more about marketing now. Yeah. And I think marketing and minimal changed everything. Ibiza changed everything. And then what happened was there was a kind of jealousy towards EDM, where those guys were earning hundreds of thousands, if not millions, per show. And a lot of people within techno were trying to emulate the EDM management method, because then money became the prerequisite above music. And that changed absolutely everything again. And the interesting thing about EDM is that EDM itself didn't seem to allow many female or PIC or gender diverse representation on stage. You look at EDM now, it's still white guys. It's only white guys really on stage that are in the EDM top 100. And then you had the newer wave of what's called techno, but we all know it not to be, come through. And I think they would have been much better suited to calling themselves EDM, or actually having the bravery of coming up with a new genre name. Because the thing that's difficult here is that this is a generation that grew up with how wrong cultural appropriation is, but it seems okay to take the cultural appropriation of techno and change it into something else. And when I grew up, punk turned into post-punk, turned into new wave. Everyone had their own name of a new scene. But for some reason they took techno, put the most horrendous trance with it, which they're entitled to do, but it's not techno. And I think they couldn't call themselves EDM because they wouldn't be in the top 100 in that same way.
So it's literally a publicity thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much cosplay going down.
Yeah.
There's so much. But there's, if we're going to end, let's end that there is a lot of good talent coming through. I think it's really important to support that talent. A lot of artists will pull the ladder up after them unless they join their DJ agency that they don't own, or unless they release records on their label, and then maybe after like 5 or 10 releases or 2 albums, they might have a guest appearance on stage with the other artist that the label owns. That stuff has killed all creativity. Ghost production has killed all creativity. There's always been ghost production. I get really angry when it's only aimed at female DJs. I know a lot of male DJs that also had a lot of ghost production done as well, and I think it's really sad. I do understand that
That's something that I didn't get is like, I mean, I understand that it happens, but I don't understand why it's being permitted in that sense. Because
it's all about franchisement now.
Exactly. As a composer and arranger, it's like there is no way that it's so much hard work that I would just be like, yeah, there is no tag price on it.
I know, because it's an expression of you.
Exactly.
But franchise is not an expression of you. Doing a franchise is an expression of capitalism. Getting out there, oh, it's a great release, move on to the next thing. Oh, yeah, that's good. And also, there's no space for the people in their busy schedules to be making a lot of music. So they'll franchise it out to ghost producers. And that's how that's ended now. I mean, I love nothing more than being in the studio. It's challenging, it's beautiful, it's difficult, it's exciting. If it's easy, I wonder why, and then I have tears of joy. Literal tears of joy. It just feels like there's a symbiosis.
The studio is here in the Netherlands?
Yeah.
We should do something together.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I can write for anything, so I'm just saying. Yeah.
Top lines. I'm a DJ, I can't do top lines. But there's a beautiful symbiosis that happens, and when all the machines, the hardware, are singing together, and you're getting that to happen, it's beautiful. And the same with photography, because I love doing photography. But there's also a limit to what you need to know what to do. So like with photography, like some good photography friends of mine said to me, you need to get a printer. I was like, okay, I'll get a printer. I haven't used it. You know why? Because the printing area is the mastering engineer for me. And I need to be in good hands of someone that understands the chemical process that happens, how different inks bond with different paper.
Thanks for saying. I was just having this conversation with Brandon before that about like, hey, when it comes to mastering, I'm like, it's mastery by itself, you know?
It's possible to do it, but why? Isn't it better to have someone who does this day in, day out to do this and have another ears in your project and actually learn to actually do different versions for different streams? That stuff's super important, and it's about delegation. You have to do the creation yourself. But it's again, with photography, it's the same, even with framing and what paper to choose. Do you choose like some Japanese paper? Do you choose a Singapore rice paper? That's an artistic decision, but the actual process, I mean, there's some mad geniuses I know out there that can do all of that, right? If I look at Vincent Lagrange, for example, he can do all of that plus more, right? Because that's his whole world, everything. And it's amazing, but the majority of photographers, I think, for me at least, I'd rather hand that to a professional organization that actually understands, because I'll be swearing at my printer all the time because they're moody, even when it's a laser printer just printing out invoices, right? Like, can you imagine just printing out photos and all of a sudden today's the day it's not going to work because you didn't use the ink on a Monday and it's deciding no, it's not going to happen, you know? So I just want someone that has their printing going all day long to do that for me. And the same with framing as well. I think framing is super important to have an input, but these people frame all the time. So you have to learn how to delegate, but I will never delegate production. And you know, I try and tell people to learn everything themselves, invest in themselves. And that way they can do everything, I think, with passion. And there's so much information available now to people. Why chatbot AI yourself into oblivion? Why not just actually learn to put a dangerous part of yourself on the line where people might go, not into that. Then 10 years later going, yeah, I always thought that was fucking amazing. Just live with the happiness of what you're doing within yourself. And then if people don't get it, it's okay. If they do get it, wonderful. But put yourself on the line and produce your own music. I think it's vitally important because you can't have your name on there. If you're actually sitting in the background and you're an executive producer doing some things in there, then say it's your remix, but name the executive producer. I think it's really important. Because so many people now that actually do this ghost production, they have NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. They're not allowed to mention anything to anyone.
That's insane to me. Wow.
and they're never. How are they ever going to break out of the box?
Wow.
If they're the ones that are making the amazing music on, Swedish labels, German labels, whatever. If
People are profiting off their insecurity of not being seen.
That's really well said.
Of just not actually getting the recognition that they want, and actually they're kind of in this vicious circle of you're not going to get the recognition that you want.
It's really well examined, and I never understood that. And then all they're doing is feeding the narco on the top of the pile. You're really right.
It's just a sick pyramid scheme towards up. That's what it is. When I heard it, I was shocked by this, because if there's one thing that is important for me is like, hey, if I do a job for someone, if I arrange it, whether it's for an orchestra or for an artist, my name is there. Even if you don't pay me, my name is there. Okay, if we have a deal between us, because my name is going to, that builds who I am and this thing that I'm investing in.
But here's the sadness about this, right? Your name is on the vinyl. Your name is on the artwork. Try and find it on a digital aggregator like Tidal or Spotify.
Exactly.
Where is your name?
Exactly.
Where's the photographer that took the photo?
Exactly.
It seemed difficult to find lyrics.
Exactly.
It's packaged in such a way now that anonymity, apart from one person, is allowed.
Yeah.
Should we finish on an up? Come on, let's finish on an up.
That was a great podcast, man. I loved it. I mean, how much is it? 2 hours already?
1 hour 40.
1 hour 40. I loved it, man. How was it for you?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I was surprisingly awake considering how tired I am and pre-ADE, because I've got so many panels coming up and my brain is full of gathering information right now. I was like, I didn't know if I'd have the energy for today, actually.
You had a lot of energy.
But it's only because I've been promised a dinner that I'm here. We're going for a curry, apparently.
You're excited. Your idea.
I know. Get me on a podcast for a dinner.
That's our.
I'll buy you.
No, that's
the cut-off point, right?
That's the business.
Anyone else that wants
the
me on a
business model.
podcast?
You got a sandwich. India got a sandwich. He's gonna.
Anyone else that wants a podcast, speak to me or my manager and make sure that dinner is part of the arrangement, and then we could get there.
Dave, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Really. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us here in the podcast Into the Score. Please like, subscribe, comment, become a part of our brand.
Franchise,
franchise, exactly. Money. So we will see you at the dance floor.